there's a lot of things I might not guarantee you, but you're going to have a life-changing experience. One way or the other, we're going to have a good time. I promise you.
That's awesome. All right. Well, let me ask you before we go, I'm going to ask you one more question, and I got a feeling this may lead to another great story. And what is the craziest boat ride or the craziest fish catch story, or one boat ride, one fish catch that you can remember?
I have crashed one time in my life. Okay, truly crashed and tore stuff up, and that was on Truman Lake. It was in a pin reel tournament. My dad had been to the Baltimore Classic practicing, and this pin reel tournament was worth 10 grand, buddy tournament, but it was worth 10 grand to win. And I've been winning everything up there on Truman, used to be in the summertime, when I was young, if I had a bad year, didn't qualify for the Classic or something like that, I would go to Truman and fish about 5 days a week, just because you could still go up there and fish without all the big boat traffic and everything. I could go up there and still kind of work on my craft and so I would go up there and I'd put in some brush. I'd do like everybody else did, put in some brush around some release areas and I would learn, how to catch them big suspenders. And so I'd have 2 or 3 things going on any given day on Truman Lake. And Dad was getting home on Friday from pre-practicing for the Baltimore Classic. And this tournament was Saturday and Sunday on Truman. And I told him, I said, come on, fish it with me, and he's like, I'm just going to be getting home from Baltimore. I'm not going to be in the mood or anything else. I said, dude, all you got to do is go right along. I said, trust me, I'll take care of everything. I said, I'll drive the boat, I'll work, I'll do everything. I said, all you got to do is go right along with me. I said, it's going to be fun. I said, I'm busting their butts. We're catching them. And first day, we run down the lake and we catch 5 that weighs 25. And this is in August. And I catch 5 that weighs 25 and come in, and we're in 3rd place. There's 2 other guys that caught a bigger stringer than us. Well, I told him, I come in, well, Dad's mad. He's like, hey, I could have been sleeping today, And he said, trust me, he says, I am not coming up here to get beat. I said, Dad, nobody catches them 2 days in a row. I said, none of them do. I said, I'm going to whack them again tomorrow. I said, that's what separates me from them. I said, I got enough brush and different things put out. I said, we're going to wreck them tomorrow. Well, we're running down the lake, and there's one shortcut through the woods. And when I say through the woods, it's a dirt road that cut off through the timber. And we get down to this area, and I told him, I said, hey, I said, hang on, I'm fixing to cut out through the woods. And I said, it's perfectly safe. I said, it's a dirt road. I've been through it 1,000,000 times. And we're in his boat. We're in his boat because his boat just goes faster than mine. And we get to that cut through in the trees, and there's about 20 boats going around this big bend in the river. Well, I just kind of let them all get out ahead of me, and then I just hang a left right out through the timber. I'm running down through that timber wide open. I mean, we're running in the 150 days, I'm clocking in about 62, running down through there, and everything's fine. And he looks over at me and he says, wow, this is really kind of a cool shortcut. I said, yep. I said, we're going to end up ahead of every one of them boats when we get to the end of this road down here. And about that time, I see a stick that's about this long. I mean, it's not 2 feet long, and it's not that big around. Go under the nose of the boat. And as soon as it hit the lower unit, it bow hooked us perfectly right out through the woods. I mean, we just hang an L, and when we do, it's like a pinball. We're just bouncing off this tree, that tree, just bouncing back and forth. Well, I'm trying to stop us, so I'm turning the wheel, trying to get a stop, and I pull the wheel loose from pretty much the steering wheel. I almost pulled it clear off, but I break the wheel trying to get this thing turned and stopped. And finally, it just starts settling down. And if you've ever bow hooked a boat, you can't do anything about it. You're just along for the ride, And as we're settling off plane, I'm thinking, holy crap, we're going to make it. We're not going to get thrown out of the boat. Nothing's going to happen. Everything's fine. We come off plane, and there's a sycamore tree that's about 6 foot in diameter right in front of us. And I'm thinking, we're not going to get stopped. We're not going to get stopped. And she's falling off plane. And as soon as it falls off plane, we T-bone the sycamore, just boom, hit it. And it stops us dead. I mean, throws my dad down on the floor of the boat, you know, throws me up against the steering wheel. Trolling motor pieces are like shrapnel off a grenade. They're hitting out in the lake, you know, pieces of the trolling motor going here, there, and everywhere. Trolling motor's gone. I can't see it no more. It's gone off the front of the boat. Dad gets flopped back up in the seat. And he's like, and he's cussing. And it's hard too. I mean, he's calling me everything but a white boy. I mean, it is bad. And we're sitting there, and this big tree, we've sat there for seconds, you know. I mean, it's not minutes. We've sat there for a few seconds, and we hear this tree go, whoop. And I look up, and this giant sycamore, we have broken it, and it's falling. And I look up, and I'm like, I look at him, and he says, we can't jump. He said, because we don't know which way it's going. So we sit there in the seats, watch this giant sycamore kind of breaking down towards us. And it finally kind of kicks off to his side, and it goes right along down the side of the boat, just whoosh. And I mean, a wall of water comes over the side of the boat. Well, I don't know if you know this or not. You did if you've ever seen my dad. My dad had the biggest comb over ever. Okay. His comb over was about that long. And it was
started way down here.
Not in place. It hung past his armpit. Okay.
That's impressive.
But anyways, this wall of water comes over, and I kind of shielded myself. And when I looked up, my dad's hat is about like this. And here's this comb over hanging down here about that far, and water just spilling off of him, you know, and he's coughing and spitting, you know. And I look at him, I'm like, what do you think now? And he's like, I really hate you right this minute. And I said, oh, if you could see your hair, you'd hate me a whole lot worse. He's like, that's not funny, goddammit, you know. And he says, what are we going to do now? And he says, nope, hold that thought. He says, you know, your old buddy over at Osage Bluff Marina? He said, let's go over there. Maybe he can help us out. Well, it's right at daylight. They don't open up till 8 o'clock in the morning. So, and I don't think about this at all. We run over there to Osage Bluff. We go up in there. There's nobody around. It's not open. He says, all right. He says, here's the deal. He says, you take this. And he gave me like $100 worth of $10 bills. Why he had that many $10 bills, I have no idea. But he gave me $100 worth of $10 bills. He said, go buy us enough rope on these docks so we can have an anchor rope. And I'm like, there's nobody going to sell us no rope. He says, hey, dumbass, you have to go steal it. Leave them a $10 bill. They can buy themselves more rope. So I'm a walking the boat docks at Osage Bluff Marina, finding every good long piece of rope I can find. And I'd leave a $10 bill with them, you know, setting a rock by it, or setting a rock on top of it so it wouldn't blow away. And I stole a bunch of their rope and went back to the boat. When I got back to the boat, he says, okay, pull me over to there to that riprap. So we pull straight across from the gas dock over to the riprap. And he says, well, he says, get that one right there. I said, hell, Dad, that one's too big. I said, I can't even get it in the boat sitting out here. He says, I want that one. Well, he wanted to get the worst one that he could get, so I would have to jack with it all day long. Now, the front of the boat looks like a bulldog. It's smashed, clear flat, you know. So we got fiberglass kind of splintered out, you know, kind of looks like a tree stump on the front of the boat. So we're not worried about screwing up the fiberglass on this thing at this point today. And I set this rock up in there. I'm out on the bank and set this rock up in there. I can barely get it in the boat with me in the water with it. He ties this rope, you know, he Boy Scouts the hell out of this damn rock and gets it tied off to where it can't get away from us. We pulled to the place where we had caught about 20 pounds of the 25 pounds we had caught the day before. And he says, okay, put the anchor out. I said, well, let me make a cast and see if they're out there. He said, put out the anchor. I mean, he's still pissed from his, you know, comb over being out of position.
Of course.
I set the anchor out and get it tied off. And we sat right there and caught 5 that weighed 32. and never moved the boat. I mean,
holy cow.
we sit there all day long. And if you would have told me you could do that, I would have, there ain't no way you can keep sitting there. We sat there for 8 hours. And when we got done at the end of the day, I said, well, we wrecked them. Let's go in. You know, I said, we're going to win this thing. And he says, pull up the anchor. I'm like, I'm not pulling up that anchor. We ain't going to fish another spot. And he says, pull up the anchor. And I get on this rope. It's all I can do to get that thing pulled up. I said, Dad, I'm not through having kids yet. I don't want to pull that anchor up. And he's like, pull the anchor up. And he made me pull that anchor up and flop it up in the boat. Well, of course, it's covered in mud and everything else. And I said, why'd you make me pull that anchor up? He says, I got a story to tell. And he says, I got to have proof to show him what you did today, you know. And sure enough, we got in and we won. Some of the guys caught another 20 pounds of stringer, you know, 20-pound stringer, but none of them caught 30. But that's back when Truman was in its heyday, and it was freaking crazy. But yeah, we sat there all day long throwing on the same little old secondary point and caught some big ones. But,
you still take that shortcut?
You know, I have, but I take it a lot slower now. I just kind of puts down through there now. But yeah, you
make you second guess that little 2-foot stick.
Oh my gosh, it hit just perfect, I guess, but it slung us out through the woods. Oh, it was terrible.
Man, that's a great story, man.
The only boat crash I ever had, my dad was with me. So.
And you hit a giant sycamore.
That's right.
Holy crap.